Menominee history has been passed down through oral traditions. From these oral traditions, we managed to keep our creation story. It started a long time ago, thousands of years ago. At the mouth of the Menominee River, the Menominees were created. It was here that all the clans of our people were born. Of these, the principal 5 clans are the bear, eagle, moose, wolf, the crane, along with other phratries or subclans had their beginning. For years, the Menominees have survived devastating changes due to assimilation, colonialism, cultural genocide, and termination. Now, the Menominees face new threats, climate change, and environmental degradation. Having lived here all my life, I have a special connection to this land. I'm getting a higher education to help protect and conserve our important natural resources. After interviewing many people about climate change, these are just a few things people had to say.
I see the water changing, and whereas I noticed some of the lakes are drying up, the water levels are going down.
Mary Webster is a Menominee tribal member who works with the Menominee people to promote cultural, physical, and spiritual well-being. She is especially concerned with the need to respect our valuable freshwater resources and to live in a better balance with nature.
Also, when I was a kid, we could go play out in the woods and be a creek there, and we could drink from that creek. Nowadays, you can't. But one of the things I do tell people is that we're fortunate. We do still have freshwater springs that we still can drink out of, whereas in other places, they can't. I just think about things my mom would tell me that her grandma would tell her. They always say, pay attention to that water because it will tell you. Pay attention to the movement of it, the color of it. It will tell you what's coming or what's going to happen.
We fish. How we get our northern, we get all our bluegills, we get our trout, all that from our waters on our reservation. Which each either the river or it's our lakes. That's how important it is. Plus, it's important to the sturgeon. It's important for families if they want to go swimming, keep your children cool.
During these last few years, I noticed the water levels declining a lot, and the lakes and the streams are pretty low.
Walter Cox is a Menominee tribal member who works for the tribe in managing all areas of Menominee Nation's resource conservation efforts. He says that changes in water levels will have lasting effects throughout the reservation on specific species.
I'm a trout fisherman as well as a conservation officer, a natural resource director, but I like trout fishing, and I noticed a decline in the trout, it seems, because of lower water levels. They attribute that to lower water levels, but the trout population declined. But I think maybe, we don't know for sure, but maybe because of the climate change or global warming, less precipitation are making our waterways lower. There's not as much water out there anymore. It don't seem, at least these last 3 years.
Monique Tyndall is a Stockbridge Muncie tribal member working as head of special collections at the College of Menominee Nation.
That water is alive. It responds to human thought. It responds to human emotion. Even just going out there and talking to that water, thanking that water. That water will hear you, and it will start to heal itself.
And as we look around here in this woods here, where we're sitting right now is called Matekuakikia, which means in in the woods or in the forest.
John Teller is a Menominee tribal member who works in preserving the Menominee language by teaching it to enrolled tribal members and descendants within the community. He tells of how the language is tied to the land and the importance of the forest.
And of course, you hear that word in there, matik, which is the tree, any kind of tree here. But if we say all the different trees, matikuk, which means the trees, and by the ending of that word, uk, that means the trees are alive, animate. You know, then we start getting into the plants and the medicines that are all out here, and gets to the point where sometimes you hate to walk around because you might smash down something important. But there's lots of stories about all the medicines that are in the woods here. The bitter root and the sweet fern, and even these what do you call these yellow flowers there? That's kind of food even. The pine pitch,
Shang.
and as they say in English, ginseng, but in Menominee,
grass.
sweetgrass, sewapuk, yeah. But you mentioned a good thing there about, we call it jingshang around here, but in the Menominee language we call that machetase, which means like a little human or a little man. Because sometimes in jingshang they have like a head and two arms and two legs as the roots. So there's all these different medicines and the earth itself. I think, I mean, it can go on more about how the language is closely associated to the earth.
It's important for all Menominees to understand the forest and how it operates, to almost like to become part of it, you know, to understand what it is to be a Menominee, what it is to live underneath this canopy.
Where we're located is just west of the Wolf River, about a quarter of a mile, on a forest inventory plot that we measure about every 10 to 15 years. And it's a 5th acre plot, and we treat these plots just like we treat the rest of the forest. If it was going to be selected for harvest, we'd harvest right through this inventory plot.
Marshall Pecor is a Menominee tribal descendant who works as a forest manager on the reservation and plays an important role in the sustainable practices on the forest. He connects on invasive species and how they affect the health of the forest.
So we're trying to measure the success or failure of forest management, but also trends that are happening beyond our control. Whether acid rain or climate change or droughts or whatever, we're hoping that from the growth patterns and the reactions to the trees and the fauna on here, will be able to give us a clue to what's happening long term.
It feels like that nobody cares about our land, and they probably don't care about the environment.
Now you see West Nile virus here, bird flu here, chronic wasting disease here. Our bees are dying from a virus. Our animals are dying from a virus. Our birds are dying. Our fish are dying. Our trees are dying. Our plants are dying. Wow, what's going to happen to the people?
Richard Anamita is a Menominee tribal member who works as a fish and wildlife technician for the tribe. He recognizes that there is an important connection between all life and the need to change for the health of our planet in future generations.
All of this has happened within the last 10 years, and we've been warned what is coming. We need to change. We need to change ourselves. And can we do this? Can we work together and do this?
Ben Greeno is a Menominee tribal member and head librarian at the Menominee Indian High School. His summer youth program emphasizes sustainable education, He is one of many people working towards educating our future.
This is the Menominee High School Sustainability Summer School garden plot. Last year we started this. We went out and checked out an old archaeological site to see how the Menominees used to do their gardens. And what we saw were the ridges and the furrows. And so the students really enjoyed that and wanted to incorporate that into our garden here.
But climate change, it's like there's so many things that can be affected by climate change. It could be the trees that's affected. It could be the water levels. It could be our own air that we breathe. It could be the animals' behavior, just how they act, and it could be just how we act or the things we do. It's all tied together.
What struck me was how hot it was on Memorial Day. This reminded me of weather that we should have been having. It was July 4th weather, but it was Memorial Day. Very, very hot.
Dr. Verna Fowler is a Menominee tribal member who serves as the president of the College of the Menominee Nation and founder of the Sustainable Development Institute at the college. She speaks of environmental changes on our reservation and what we can learn from each other. She also stresses the importance of educating youth to instill respect for nature.
The other thing that you notice are the trees and the blooming and the crops and everything growing. One plant in particular I always watch, and I've watched that since I was in 9th grade, because I grew up in a religious community and we always depended on this one particular plant, and it was called a bridal wreath bush, and it always blossomed around June 13th. And we always used that plant for a decoration. This year, the bridal wreath bushes and the flowers were out by mid-May, a whole month earlier. For years, it's always been around June 13th. This year, I was just struck by that it was middle of May and those plants were blossoming. We can't just look within our own borders. It behooves all people on this planet to come together to address this issue collaboratively. That's a major, major undertaking. But what has to happen is that we can't live in denial anymore that this is not happening. Years ago you heard, oh, it's not happening. This is just a regular cyclical change. We can't live in that denial anymore.
It's been a huge honor for me to interview these people. The threat that climate change represents is causing an awakening awareness. As the Monomni move forward, the promise of a stable environment is uncertain. Our people face the future with optimism born from generations of living with the environment. If we can hold on to this ethic, our humanity in relation to the whole environment, then maybe a healing can begin to take place for the next 7 generations and beyond.
It started a long time ago. They asked him to change. He told them no. Oh, the life that he lived came from the old ways and the one that was sitting in the hay. And you are the one that started it all by telling your children stand straight and tall. I'm standing so proud and singing real loud, thinking of you, my father's summer cloud.
Climate change.
Climate changes.
Climate change?
Climate change.
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 Climate change, right? Climate change.
It's a climate change.